okay, there's things, you know, I'm called to do and I feel I should be doing, versus the feeling that I don't really want to do this, or I don't think I can do this,
right.
and you know, you kind of get stuck in the middle and you just don't do anything.
Right. Yeah. I know I kind of asked this before, if anybody's like, you know, really feels like their spiritual gift is evangelism, but does anyone, you know, just go in spurts and just kind of, wait, I really need to do this today? And I mean, it's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, I'd be very proud of you and excited for you to feel like God is convicting you to do those things. I'm just curious to see if anybody in here kind of feels like they... Okay. No, don't. I mean, really. Again, I am. You know, I'm in that same boat. There's no condemnation or guilt coming from me. I'm really. I struggle with it as well. So please don't feel like I'm trying to shame you this morning.
I've had the experience of doing a program. I guess there's, you know, many different evangelistic outlines or programs come out. You know, I think if you watch any Christian broadcasting networks or anything, you'll see like The Way of the Master with Kirk Cameron or you know, I mean, like, and there's just so many different, you know, things out there, right? I did one called Evangelism Explosion.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I mean, it's popular. It's all around the world. And you know, I had. You know, I think every time you share, you know, you encounter unique situations, you know, just different people, and you know, when I did it, I mean, I always, in the beginning, it was always hard to go out and do it. It was like, oh man, I can't believe I got to go out there and do this again. But it always seemed that at the end, you know, when it comes back, you know, there was this great sense of fulfillment.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I felt like, even though I so didn't want to do it, and I dreaded the time, you know, when we were getting ready to prepare and go out and do all these things, at the same time, at the end, it was like, what we just did was probably the most valuable thing I could do and have done all week. You know, so it was very conflicted, I guess, in a sense.
Sure.
But at the same time, you know, I knew it was something that, you know.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. Elias, right? Yeah, thanks for... Yeah, I mean, conversational evangelism, like just doing it on the street, I mean, it's not really something I advocate. I mean, I really don't feel like it's effective in today's generation. But there is on the other hand, there is something about it that that is just very, I mean, if you want to feel close to God, you go and share God with somebody on the street. I mean, because you're praying the whole time. You're like, God, please, 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 don't make me look like a fool. Don't make them spit on me or punch me or whatever. You know, and I want to say the right words about you. I want to tell them about God's love. I don't want to just, you know, mess this up. For InterVarsity's national training, every summer we do an orientation for new staff. So all new staff around the country, we come together in Madison, Wisconsin, where our headquarters are. And we bring them. So every year it's about 100 folks, and we decide that on one day, one afternoon, we are all going to go and do some street evangelism. And so I was there last year with my family, being small group leaders for the new staff. And, you know, knowing what we do at ONS is what we call it, I dread that day. You know, I mean, like the whole week, it's just kind of like, oh God, please, let something happen where I can't do it, or, you know, the rapture or whatever. But, you know, I don't want to do this day. This is not who I am. I don't, you know, I'm not excited to walk up to strangers and be like, hey, can I talk to you about God for a second? You know, it's just so uncomfortable. I mean, really, I was just scared out of my pants. You know, and half the time we're doing fundraising. The first half of the time we do fundraising, and InterVarsity is a parachurch organization, so we fundraise from our friends and churches and all that kind of stuff. And on one of the nights, you know, we make phone calls to our friends and prospective donors and all that kind of stuff. And so most staff are scared of that day. That's like the day that they're most scared of, to actually pick up the phone and to ask their friend, hey, would you think about supporting me? But for me, the whole week was just focused on Evangelism Day. It was like, no, no, no. But so they train us. We get in pairs, and the guy I was paired with, he's from California, and just a really tall white guy. He's scared out of his pants too. I mean, I was hoping to at least be paired with somebody who was a little more comfortable. They could take the lead. I'm the small group leader. I can just sit back and I'll just watch them work. But he froze every time. I mean, I was like, Casey was his name. I was like, Casey, look, I'll do the first like 2 or 3. But you need to warm up and do this. This is good for you. It's a stretch of faith. Come on. But every time he was like, anyways. But that ended up being just like Elias was saying, just a really significant time for me, just to be able to talk about my faith. I mean, I had to be able to figure out exactly what do I believe that I can share with this person. What do I believe about my life, about who Jesus is, about who God is, that I can stop them and ask them some questions and then talk to them about this. I mean, it's got to be real. It can't just be something that's fake. I mean, it really was just very exciting to know that you're relying on God that moment, and to have to approach someone. I mean, we tried to make it a little smoother, that it wasn't just stopping them, but just asking them some questions about their spiritual background and sharing. But we actually got to we ended up using the bridge diagram, and I think we ended up sharing it with, going through the whole thing with 1 or 2 folks, which was surprising to me. I mean, for me, when somebody stops me on the street, I'm just like, leave me alone. I don't have time. I'm going to my next place. But that people were willing and wanting to hear what we had to say about God, and what we believed about God. It was exciting. I have a great ministry colleague of mine in Tampa, Brian Sanders, who, I mean, one of his taglines is basically, if you feel like you're in a spiritual drought, go and share your faith with somebody. Because that puts you in a place where you got to be communicating with the Lord. You have to be knowing what you believe for you to share it with somebody else. So it was awesome to watch God work that way last summer. I mean, again, something that I totally dread. And I'm imagining if I really told you guys that we were going to go do that you would all hate me and never invite me back as a speaker. I mean, this is like, you dread this. But just consider, on the other hand, the things that it might do for you if you were to share your faith with a stranger. In some ways, sharing it with a stranger is easier than sharing with a friend, because you don't have relational baggage. You don't have what ramifications will this have for me in the friendship. And I understand that, but just consider for a moment just what you would need to have, and what reliance on God you would have if you were to go and to share your faith with a friend or a stranger, either one. So what is evangelism? Tell me.
Sharing. Sharing your faith or the good news via words or actions.
Okay, that's good. That's a good definition. I like that. Others? That just sums it up. No other comments? Really, anybody else have any?
I would say, yeah, sharing the good news of God.
Yeah, I wonder why don't we just use that? Knowing the baggage that comes with the word evangelism. I mean, for the longest time, I've been just saying, yeah, let's just talk about sharing our faith, because sharing our faith makes it seem so much more homey, like we're sitting in the living room just looking at the Bible and just talking. It's not this big word evangelism that brings up images of Billy Graham and Jehovah's Witnesses and just all these bad stereotypes. I have a friend, David Park, who writes a blog called Next Generation Church. So he lives here in Atlanta, and we get together every now and then.